Here's the live podcast that I'm doing here, and I'm going live on multiple platforms. Happy to do so. What I really want to do is talk about what struck a nerve. And on LinkedIn, essentially, I asked a question. I did a poll on LinkedIn, and essentially, it was: what would you choose? 200K at a job you hate, or 60K in a business you love? So I got a number of responses. We got 168,000 views, 5,600 full number votes, and essentially, we got a number of people that said different things. So one person, Mark Staus, said, "What's the nut I have to cover? Am I single or married with family? No person is an island. Most have families, etc. Isn't this the classic dilemma that so many people face?" I think this is interesting. This is an interesting comment. A lot of people don't have the choice in their minds whether to take a lower salary or higher salary. Uh, what a lot of people are stuck with is, hey, I have all these things I have to cover regarding family expenses, whatever the case may be. Um, Another person, Bianca Huntley, said, "I went to 200K initially and turned it into an opportunity to do what I love." I think this really a bifurcation of two types of people. And I think with regards to the people that take the 200K, at least, right? The people that would take the 200K either decide that they're going to stay in a job and maintain that 200K, or they're thinking of expanding on that 200K, which in many cases, those type of people actually will take the 200K because they think there's grass is greener on the other side. So, so another person, Robert Nichols, said, "If someone is willing to pay you 200K to have yourself a job, why not look for somewhere you can be for 200K and love your job? Seems a better option than setting or being miserable." Well, Robert, thank you so much for that, but that's not the question. So I feel like a lot of people in this post, for better or worse, they project onto this post. But thank you, Robert, for that question. It's not you're stuck in a position. This is a random scenario, and you're stuck in a position where you have to take 200K at a job you hate, or take 60K at a job you love. Lower pay, but you love the job. You're happy in the job. You want to go to work every day. 200K. So I did this with staff, colleagues of mine, and essentially we built up a scenario, right? And a lot of my colleagues are female, and what we did was we said, okay, the 200K job, you're driving to work 1 to 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours a day, even. And some people do. They drive 4 hours a day to work, meaning they drive 2 hours to work, 2 hours back. And that's, to me, that's miserable. So let's say you have to drive that long to work. You're in mind-numbing traffic. On top of that, you're going to work and you're being, unfairly treated, sexually harassed, whatever the case may be. And you just hate it. You hate going to work. You hate the people you work with. You hate what you're doing. It's monotonous. Challenge to it, but you're making 200K. Or perhaps you're in a very stressful, high-stress situation, like a lot of potentially law firms, right? If you're in a law firm, it's like almost like dog eat dog. Everyone's trying to strive to become partner. Not every law firm's like that. A lot of law firms are like that, though. And so let's look at like different answers that people answered. Let's see. Tom Molly said, "Definitely the job I love. No point in being highly paid, not sleeping at night with stress, anxiety. The working environment, culture, and balance comes before any large pay packet, in my opinion." So yeah, I mean, this obviously Tom, values health over money, which is good. Health is wealth, right? And then we have other people that said a few other things. How can I pull this up here? Okay, so I have to pull this up this way. Not most relevant, most recent. Pull that up. Stephanie Alamo, she's a PhD. How much and why is the proverbial 200K job hated? Is it full on? I hate this job. I hate the people I work with. I hate myself for doing it. I hate every moment that I'm doing it. I feel empty and meaningless. I don't have time for my family, and this role degrades my physical health. Or is it typical hyperbole, hate hyperbolic hate, something more like, "I don't really like this job and my manager's kinda mean, so I kinda completely check out." I feel like so many people are projecting onto this. Like, they think of all these different scenarios. It's like you hate your job, just like the maximum amount that you can hate your job is what I want to portray in this scenario. And then at 60K, you love your job, the maximum amount that you can love your job. So imagine the worst case scenario for the 200K job, and imagine the best case scenario for the 60K job. So a lot of people are projecting. They're like, how much do I hate it? Do I hate it where I like hate my life? I hate myself, and, or am I moderately dissatisfied with a job? This is pretty much what Stephanie's saying, who's a PhD doctor. A lot of people say 200K for this reason. They say, well, I would take 200, and that after 2 years, I save enough money, I can buy real estate, whatever the case may be, and then go back to a lower paying job, but have investments that pay off other things. I feel like those people are really ambitious, and they're willing to give up, some time. For me, like, time is more valuable than money. So I don't know if that's the choice I would make if I were, let's say we're thinking of a scenario where you're like 23, 24, 25, and maybe 26 if you have an advanced degree, 27, 28. Let's see what other people had to say. If you were single and no family commitment, it's 200K. If you have a family and you're constantly in a state of anger and never around, the 200K isn't worth it. Ooh, interesting. So some people said, if you have a family, you have to take the 200K job. And then other people said, like Dan, he said, if you're taking the 200K and you hate everything about it and you hate your life and you're taking that home, it's probably not best to do the 200K. So very different scenarios, right? And yeah, I tend to agree with it. First of all, I think what most people have to think about is, why do you want the 60K or why do you want the 200K? And I feel like a lot of people, especially in the advanced degree stage, they take the higher amount, and they may hate their job and they may feel stuck, and then so they up their expenses on a monthly basis. They increase that, and they live above their means. And so you have like people that are at 200K that are living paycheck to paycheck, and they have to sustain that. And then you're in this cycle of like, you have to make this happen. You can't lose this job, because if you lose the job, then you're losing all those things, the externalities, the exogenous things that really make you think you're happy. So I think you're in a jail in that scenario. You're 100% in a jail. What if you took the 200K job and you saved every bit of money, and you lived way below your means, and then tried to invest the extra money into real estate or things like that? I think that would be a good play. However, and then other people, I think in this post, I'm not going to read all the comments, but other people at 60K, they said, well, if I'm at 60K, actually somebody that works at LinkedIn mentioned this. Let me see if I can find him actually. He said at 60K, let's see. And by the way, I haven't figured this system out yet. So if you're commenting, I can't see it. I will eventually figure that out so I can see your comments. So many people are asking, why do I hate that this guy's a doctor and a lawyer? This guy comments on my post a lot. Paul Mulleriano. He's I like his tagline: when you need a lawyer, call the doctor. The doctor and a lawyer. Let's see. There's a guy from LinkedIn that mentioned that. Okay, so anyways, the guy from LinkedIn, he said that he took a 60K job that he loved, and because he worked really hard and he loved it, it was easier. It was easier to work hard. He said he took the 60K job and then eventually grew from that point. But here's my point of view. There's a lot of people that project onto this, but depends on where you live. Let's say you live in California, right? But if you're living in Texas, 60K is much different than if you're living in. But let's say you're making 60K, 70K, you're happy with it. First of all, it only takes 75K to be super happy with, cover your needs, the food that you have to eat on a consistent basis, also the shelter that you have to have. So really, I think most people project because they think that they have to have this lavish lifestyle, or they have this dream in their head of the lifestyle they want, so they choose the 200K. But really, like 60K in almost any location can get you a decent apartment, can get you food on a consistent basis. And if the goal is you can grow, hey, why not just focus on something that makes you happy? And then eventually, because you're happy and you love working, going to work every day, you can build on it. It's a much easier to build on that if you're happy with your job, and you can eventually make the 200 bond. I know a lot of people like this, like in business. Like some people in business, like it's weird. They have you may have like somebody that has like a high paying career, right? And they make anywhere from 200 to $500,000, and you see these people, and sometimes they completely quit and they just 100% jump into entrepreneurship. It's crazy. And with entrepreneurship, sometimes like in the very beginning, you're making very little. Like you could make a very small amount of money in the first few years of entrepreneurship. And you see these people so happy, in many cases, just jumping into a business, making 30K, 40K. And then 5 years, 6 years later, you see them making 400K, 500K. And then 10 years later, you see them making in the millions. So I don't know. It really depends on your circumstance, but I was always opt in for happiness, because happiness should supersede any amount of money that you could potentially make. I think that's what's most important, is being happy, because first of all, happiness and ambition and progress. Happiness, ambition, and progress are most important things. You can be happy while being ambitious, while making slow progress. You're in a very good position, because I mean, here's the thing. There's two scenarios that I want to bring up that I think a lot of people go through. One scenario is you have this high paying career. Let's say you're a doctor, lawyer. Let's say you're a high paying executive. Let's say you're investment banking. You're making like anywhere from $300,000 to $500,000. Well, the great thing is when you go to a family party, or you go to a get together, and you're talking with these people that it may feel good for them to go, "Oh wow, you're doing this, you're doing that. That's great." But to me, like if you're in a career you hate, that's the only benefit. So like, hey, you go to a party every once in a while, and people like look up to you, and they're like, "Wow, great." That's a benefit. The less you care about what people think, the less of a benefit that is, by the way. Um, and then you have saying bye to someone. And then you have the 60K person, right? Let's say you so happy, you love going to work. It's a not a long commute, and you just like going to work. Well, some people may not look at that job or that person as prestigious as other jobs, which is fine, because the less you care about what people think, the less matters, right? So the added benefit of that is you're happy most of the time, right? The disadvantage is when you go to a family party or whatever, is people may not look at you in the same light that they would someone making a lot more and that has more of a prestigious job. So you have to make the decision. To me, it's a very easy choice. I don't care how prestigious I look in front of other people. I'd rather build a business. And actually, I kind of like being taken for granted, because I just remember, I like the feeling of like proving people wrong. And that really lights a fire under entrepreneurs' butts a lot of time, because there's nothing better than for you to succeed after people have just written you off or taking you for granted. It's awesome. It's awesome. So let's go over this. So 60K, you're happy. The disadvantage is you go to a party, nobody looks at you in a prestigious way. 200K, unhappy. The only advantage is when you go to parties every once in a while, like people go, "Oh wow, you're so cool." I mean, it's a really easy decision for me, but believe it or not, people live in that realm of wanting prestige for like a moment in time of like, hey, people look up to me. And to me, it's not worth it at all. I don't care. Those people don't care about you. A lot of those people that you really want to impress won't care if you died tomorrow. They won't even show up to your funeral. So why does it even matter or prestigious or whatever the case may be? Who cares, right? Who cares? And if you're not accepted into certain circles, probably not even worth it, right? So that's my opinion on it. I'm going to be going live consistently on multiple channels, be talking about social issue topics, family issues, business, general, be talking about them consistently, as well as talking with other people. So we have a podcast here. If I can pan out a little. We have. I can't. I don't know how to do that right now. We have like not 8 mics, 7 mics, and we're gonna be talking with people consistently. So make sure to show up. We're gonna show you different links where you can come on the YouTube live. Eventually, we're gonna have people on the podcast that can call in, which would be awesome. We're gonna have multiple people on Monday of next week, probably about 6 people that are gonna be conversing about hot topics, and look forward to conversing with you soon.